Hey, Sparrow.
What questions do you have for me that
So, one, definitely, did you send this over to your daughter so she could look over
I
what Jesse was saying?
absolutely did?
Okay, because I mean, obviously, if there's lies being said about her, she has a right to defend herself because obviously this is what Jesse's going to stick by, and say, hey, she was pressured by your daughter. So you're saying she was not pressured by her daughter. Wade wanted this out,
I
and
will tell you every bit of the cease and desist from the very get-go come from Wade, and he was the one that insisted that they get done. Jesse worked with the paralegal, and she did in fact send the letter to Kelly to clarify, and Kelly was like, I have no idea. I mean, it looks right to me, but I'm not a paralegal. That's what they get paid for. And that was as far as Kelly was involved with the cease and desist. And like I said, after all of this with the Funley and showing that she was in fact involved more than she ever said, because she made light that everything was coming from her savings. She did, in fact, mention to Kelly that she had loaned someone money from the to an inmate that Wade wanted. And Kelly was like, I hope that you're the one responsible for this. And just like the social media, they were going to go into thirds: Kelly, Shannon, and Jesse. And Jesse said, even with that, it was coming from her savings. Not once did she ever say she was paying commissary, legal, anything. And as far as we knew, as far as her team knew, everything was coming out of Jesse's savings. So to find all of this breakdown that you showed, and the fact that she got framed or she got exposed, more or less, not framed, because she did it herself. And I said, the sad part is, if you will recall, when that Funley was set up, and that was done before the team was ever developed, and it was in Marion's name, and it was not switched over to Jesse until late. So I'll remember all of it, because you were the one that said, look at that has Jesse at the bottom. Mm-hmm. That does not say me, or it might have been Courtney that said that, but somebody exposed it for getting over from Marion to Jesse.
Yeah, I saw that. The only questions I have is we've seen Jesse's investigative skills and they're lackluster. So where is she getting like people's, like she even pulled up Jumpsuit's actual government name, which isn't listed anywhere. So I was just like, where is she getting people's information? And that's why your daughter has military background. So it may, like, and at that time she was working with it. So my brain is telling me that Kelly helped to obtain where the addresses are of which Jesse was going to send these out for.
Because well, like I said, I just talked to Kelly and she clarified, because I sent the message and asked her, and that's what she said. She was working with the paralegal, and after the paralegal was done with the letter, she sent it to Kelly to look over for the verbiage. And as far as the addresses and all of that, I'm not involved in any of that, and neither was Kelly.
Okay.
Kelly has a full-time job, plus 2 small children and a husband, and to be as involved as Jesse was, she don't have the time to do all of that. She did not have.
Did you hear those calls though? Like it was a little flirty at the, there was a little flirtage going on.
That the 2 a.m. was an actual spirituality quote.
No, I'm not her sending messages at 2 a.m. I'm just talking about the phone calling in general. Like, is there's other phone calls that are going to come out with Kelly behind him? Are we going to hear more of her
As
being
far as
flirty?
the totem pole went, and that was an actual conversation because she was looking up because I told her, I'm like, had it gone on, I was fearful that he would have gone there. And she said, never did he ever go there because I would shut him down. And the totem pole, if you look up totem pole, there are all kinds. And he was talking about being at the low end of the totem pole. And she was like, there's more than after she come back. Because she said, if you will recall, she said, you had me looking all over. And she was looking up actual totem poles. And again, there were, I mean, I'm not on the phone call, so I don't know, but I can guarantee you what she told me, and never did she go there.
Okay, so like Marion so as far as you knew, like you never physically talked to Marion.
I have never talked to Marion.
Has Kelly talked to Marion?
No.
So as far as people knew, Marion just used like let them use her name, and she wasn't in contact. You guys only heard from Jesse's mouth that they were working with Marion. You guys, she was never brought into group chats or none of that stuff.
No, never.
So you just went on Jesse's word because you just were like, hey, this is what she's saying. Marion's name's on it. Okay, it's got to be legit.
From what I understood, Marion is married with a husband, and they were involved as far as a church, something to do with somewhere around that area with the church, and had gotten involved that way. And that's how they became both him or her and the husband. And she, if you will recall, we talked about Marion had wrote the judge a letter, or Marion had sent a letter, and he said it needs to go to the attorney and not the judge. So she said, I'll email her and ask her to send it to the judge. So there is a Marion. I just don't know who she is, and nobody on the team had ever talked to her.
Well, then obviously at some point she transferred over, gave it over to Jesse, and then just no one's heard from her or about her ever since.
I think Jesse was the one, because I think, in all honesty, she used her name, and whether Marion has ever seen any sort of official documentation, I highly doubt it. And when she was exposed was when she switched over to Jesse, after her name from going from Marie to Jesse, and you seen at the bottom, it's actually her account.
Yes. Now, what did your so did Kelly listen to the call the other day?
Yes, she did.
And so did her husband listen to the call? Like,
Yes, he did.
What is his thoughts?
They both thought it was funny in all actuality, because number one, he has been aware since day one. And again, we didn't go in with that same assumption that most people believe that we went in with to prove him innocent. We did not. We went in with the assumption to try to help him. Hold on.
Yeah, you're fine.
Yeah, I'm trying to clean. Anyway, we went in with the assumption to try to get him proper legal representation, so he did not receive the death penalty.
Yeah, you guys, I know you guys were very avid on the DP portion of the process.
Absolutely. And I'm still a firm believer that God is the only one that can take you out. unless you do
we've
it.
seen that for a long time. Like usually a lot of those things change over years. It just depends. He's got to do something positive. The only thing he's been doing is all this negative in the streets and worried about his self and how people see him, and he wants himself in publicity, and he wants the social media, and he wants all these things, but he's not focused on what he's in there for, or what he's done in his past, or what he needs to make amends for. So therefore he can't save his soul until he admits or takes fault or takes claim into what he's done to be able to move beyond it. So
I told you in the last live. I told you in the last live, he's had 5 years and he has not changed his demeanor or whatever. He's not made any sort of adjustment toward bettering himself, toward getting mentally and physically healthier, and seeking the proper counseling and proper health changes toward whether it's medication or whatever it takes for him to actually get past all of that. First of all, he has to know that he's got a problem, and he does not still to this day, because if he did, he wouldn't be in solitary on death row. I mean,
now, has he contacted you or Kelly since that
absolutely not. No.
Okay.
Absolutely
now he can't contact anybody, but I didn't know if he had talked to you since the last time we talked.
No.
If he had messaged or emailed or said anything.
But I just heard that he got his tablet taken away after we talked on that live for 3 months, but now he's in trouble again. And I said it had to have been for the attitude, and he thinks that he's in control, and the guards will show him you're not in control. And he can't do what he wishes to do.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
I know
you mentioned that Wade and Jesse had a visit. What kind of visit was that?
I just know that she went to visit.
So you're not sure if she physically saw him or if it was a phone call?
Well, it was through the glass. It was through the glass. And that was before he got in trouble. So right now he's in trouble. So right now he has nothing going on as far as correctional goes.
Okay, so far nothing. You don't have any ties there, and then like, I don't know. Is there anything that Kelly has that she could show that this wasn't like what Jesse's saying is wrong? Like, does she have something?
I can tell you, and I've said it after. Now that they're throwing the old team under the bus and putting out information that the Ari call and all of that was part of the old team Wade, and they have better team that will not do that and all of that. If you go back and you listen to that very first phone call that Ari made, that Jesse said Ari was going to make, and she also said Kelly was not for this, and he said, why? What does that mean? And she said, Kelly's a worrywart. By that time, Kelly had already discovered that Ari was not real, because number one, she checked more paperwork and saw actual pictures, and the fingernails had different lengths. One picture had long nails, one picture had real short nails, and the hands were different. And Kelly told her, this is not a good idea. And she went on with it anyway. So again, I can just tell you, go back and listen to that very first Ari phone call.
Now, how has your daughter talked to Ari?
No, she saw pictures.
So she only saw pictures. She didn't have a formal conversation with her ever. She just advised
Correct.
against it. We already heard the phone call where she was funny, you know.
Yep. And
Like,
Kelly kept telling her, just like with the German girl. And Jesse believed that she could get the 200,000. And that's when Kelly said, there is no way that you can get 200,000 through customs in a weekend. I've been to overseas and I know what it's like clearing customs. But yet Jesse insisted that this could happen in a weekend. And she told her then, this is not real. Again, Jesse done what Jesse wanted to do.
Well, Mel asked too, like how Wade would have known to send cease and desist out to content creators. Like who
Wade was the one that insisted because Jesse was the one telling him who was playing the calls and putting her picture up.
That's how he wanted to come on because I think he had asked you a couple questions too.
That's how Kelly, that is how the YouTube streets came up because they went after Jesse first. If you will recall, they went after Jesse.
Mm-hmm. She's not on the list though of the YouTube. They didn't list YouTube streets as people getting cease and desist on there either.
What?
She didn't list YouTube streets on there as getting a cease and desist.
That's in the declaration statement.
Yeah.
Hey, Debbie.
No, I'm only on here to answer calls with you. I did not intend on going live.
Okay, kick me out, Coral.
I needed to make sure that this information this is not lies. I'm not on here to lie.
Debbie, can I ask you a question? I'm not asking about all this crap. I just have a question.
What?
Didn't you tell me you were married or no? Or you were married?
I was married for 40 years to.
Let me ask you this. Being married 40 years, either you or your husband was on a phone call with somebody and that person said that you are fine, funny, and fuckable. Would your husband be?
I have never heard that.
Oh, the 3 F's. It was on the calls. Fine, friendly, and fuckable.
That's according to you. That's
not what was on the
me.
calls that were played. I'm not making that up.
I'm not here, Steve. I'm not going
I know.
there.
I got you. How did y'all know Jesse visited Wade if you're not in touch with him?
I have contacts there.
I thought you were done with all this.
I am telling you, people still
Kick me out, Coral. Kick me out. You're giving this woman way too much time than she ever deserves.
All right, I'm done.
All right, I'm back in now. All right, like there's a lot of questions because there's just so much going on. So it's just no offense to you came on.
I'm not answering for I was not in. I'm not part of that. Like I said, I answered the cease and desist. I answered what I needed to answer. And again, I can't answer for Kelly, her husband, or whatever. That's not my place.
That's that one. We'll see more anyways once the phone calls start coming out, what the intentions or how far it went. So even you have seen things come out, they trickle out and you get to hear things more that you're like damage control shocked about. So it'll portray itself and come out even further beyond.
Again, like I said, I don't believe anything Jesse says. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, we were all thrown under the bus by her.
But you did believe her, though. You chose to listen to her, and two-time, like a guy that's just notoriously had a history of lying and abusing people. Like you coming from a background of being abused yourself, you would think
she lies as much as he does. She lies as much as he does, and that's all I have to say.
All right. Well, thank you for coming up and explaining the cease and desist part. I hope you have a good rest of your day. Well, that went fun. I just can't in these situations because it's like Sparrow, I know you're up in here and you're listening, and I ain't trying to be disrespectful, but I'm trying to be fucking honest here. You still chose with your intelligence and your intellect that you have and your military background to listen to Jesse and to believe in what was going on and to not dig and investigate yourself, but then want to remove yourself and say they lied to us, they threw us under the bus. Like, did you walked into it knowing what what he was capable of? There was a black and whites for days that showed you what he was capable of the whole time, and you being a person who came from being abused for multiple years, as you stated, and trying to get yourself mentally right. Usually people of trauma that have been through that support others that have been through that trauma, and you're going to actually investigate a little further because of what the allegations are and you want to see. And if it's on a black and white, there's, he was arrested for it and then convicted for it, and you didn't investigate further enough. You just went with your whole my daughter said this and she believes it, and go with your gut instinct. But then you want to, now when things are coming in and there's hot water involved, you want to remain clean and say it's Jesse has lied, and she did this and we believed her and nothing she said. But you're not stating the facts that you too were equally going as hard as Jesse was, and so was your daughter. And that's the part that I'm trying to explain in a very calm, respectful way. That's the part that I'm wanting you to address, is you also believed and took part and went hard, and to believe that Jesse just did these things on her own. She had you guys to balance off of, and she was gonna. We know how she works now. She needs guidance, and someone's always been guiding her along the way. I mean, in this case, who guided her in the cease and desist? And don't just say the paralegal, because that was prior. Someone had to tell her that was okay and it was possible. Someone had to tell Wade that yes, you can do that, and go after content creators. Wade's in prison. He's not knowing these things unless someone feeds it to him. So I'm saying that it doesn't make sense when you're trying to say one thing but it doesn't add up. And you just saving face for yourself and for your daughter, but not taking any ownership for the acts that you've done yourself. So in order to say, hey, I remove myself from it and I'm beyond it and I'm sorry, you still have to take ownership for the things that you've done. Anyways, that's my piece about it.